Downtown Raleigh has major problems, and honestly, it really makes me angry. How does downtown Raleigh continue to go backwards? We are talking about rising crime, historic businesses leaving, teasing big plans that seem to fall apart, and underutilized gems that need a new plan. But here's the twist. I don't think the story will end the way you think it will. Welcome to Relocating to Raleigh, where we talk about what it's really like living here. And today we're diving into downtown Raleigh, the good and the bad, and why what happens during the next 3 to 5 years could completely redefine it. Let's start with the elephant in the room, crime. If you talk to locals, especially business owners, you'll hear a lot of concern. There have been stabbings, shootings, break-ins, drug activity, especially concentrated around areas like Moore Square, the bus station, and Glenwood South. In one weekend, there were 6 people stabbed in one incident on Fayetteville Street, and a person shot the next night in Glenwood South. Both were disputes amongst 2 parties and happened after midnight. But here's where it gets nuanced. The overall picture is mixed. Violent crime has actually declined in some recent data. Property crime has dropped significantly in certain periods, and Raleigh as a whole is still considered much safer when compared to major U.S. cities like Charlotte, Nashville, Austin, and Denver. Even city leaders emphasize this isn't widespread random violence. It's localized, concentrated, and perception-driven. Here's the reality. Raleigh is still a very safe city as a whole. We are not seeing random crime. It's typically resulted from drunk disputes after midnight. But Raleigh is not accustomed to having any of these issues at all. Even though it's at a much lower rate than other major cities, it still comes as shocking news. We don't expect Raleigh to benchmark with other cities, we expect Raleigh to benchmark with itself. And the homeless population has seemingly risen, and while again, much less than some other similar cities, it's still a rise for Raleigh, which has no doubt affected the atmosphere of downtown. And these aspects have led to probably the most disturbing issue plaguing downtown Raleigh. Businesses are leaving downtown. Some of Raleigh's most historic legacy spots have shut their doors. Clyde Cooper's had been a Raleigh staple since 1938. They just left for North Raleigh. Beasley's was another beloved restaurant and just closed. And it's not just crime, it's a combination of reduced foot traffic, safety concerns, and changing consumer patterns. Even city discussions acknowledge downtown hasn't fully recovered evenly, especially areas like Fayetteville Street. And when businesses leave, foot traffic drops even further. When foot traffic drops, perception of safety drops even more. It's a cycle, and here is where my frustration lies. The Fayetteville and Moore Square districts are the heart of downtown Raleigh. How can we let businesses like those close their doors? Beyond working to improve crime statistics, what is being done? Where are the incentives to attract businesses to the area? Glenwood South is now the place to be. Fayetteville Street has become a ghost town. And on top of this 2-hour free parking program might be discontinued and replaced with even higher parking rates. We are moving in the opposite direction here. Now here's where frustration really builds. Because Raleigh loves announcing big projects, and it feels like we are just about to break out. High-rise towers, major redevelopments, streetscape improvements on Fayetteville Street, but many of these, they get announced and then they stall. The annual Downtown Raleigh Alliance presentation and report is incredible, and it gets everyone excited every year. But plans change so often, it's hard to get excited anymore. Even approved projects can sit in limbo due to financing issues, market slowdowns, and developer hesitation. Downtown Raleigh needs things to move faster than they have, or we risk losing more and more confidence. And what I will say, Raleigh does need a true centerpiece or unique attraction that stands out nationally. It doesn't have to be Seattle's Space Needle or St. Louis's Arch, but Raleigh doesn't have a sports stadium, and its only main icon is a large acorn on Fayetteville Street. We need an identity, an attraction that differentiates us and defines us on a national level. Now this next one might be the most frustrating part because downtown Raleigh does have one of these amazing assets today, but it's just not reaching its potential. Moore Square. This should be a family hub, a community gathering space, a true centerpiece attraction of downtown. Instead, many people avoid it, even with the incredible Marbles Museum right next door. Why? Because people don't feel safe or comfortable, and public spaces are seemingly permanently utilized by the homeless population. The bus station is right next door, along with homeless services, so naturally this leads to the area being the default hangout. Listen, everyone needs and has a right to a place, but we have positioned one of our coolest assets that we ideally would bring children to, or even just be a place to eat lunch under a beautiful oak tree, into an area that people avoid. Benches are almost always taken up and slept on during the middle of the day or heavily congregated around. You can't walk by without getting harassed for money. The problem is, to change the use and narrative, it probably means relocation of the homeless services and rerouting of the bus station traffic. But if that were to occur, there would no doubt be new life breathed into Moore Square, as well as the seemingly vacant neighbor and city market. Okay, so let's be clear. clear, downtown Raleigh is not falling apart. The city is still growing rapidly. Crime overall is not spiraling out of control, and there are still thriving pockets like Glenwood South. But it's not keeping up with its own potential, and expectations are high. Now here's where things get interesting and gives us hope, because the next wave of projects, they're different. We're talking about a major Omni hotel development, expansion of the convention center, transformation of Red Hat Amphitheater, and multiple large-scale mixed-use projects like the Creamery. These aren't just ideas. They're designed to bring consistent foot traffic. And that's the key, because downtown doesn't need one big fix. It needs more people, more activity, more reason to be there all the time. And that's exactly what these projects aim to do. Here's the bigger picture. Downtown Raleigh is going through the same thing a lot of US cities are. A post-COVID identity shift. The old model of office workers and nightlife is gone. The new model, mixed-use, experience-driven, and constant activity. And Raleigh is right in the middle of that transition. So yeah, downtown Raleigh has problems, real ones, but it also has strong fundamentals, massive growth, and major investment on the way. And that combination usually wins. The real question isn't, is downtown struggling? It's, what will it look like 5 years from now? And while I voice my frustrations, I do have confidence that Raleigh will look much different in the next 5 years. If you want to learn more about downtown Raleigh, check out our guides and walkthrough videos. See you all there.